There's a nationwide discussion about the spike in discrimination and crime against Asian Americans, especially after the murders of 6 Asian women in Atlanta. This week, Asian American members of Congress spoke out in powerful testimony on behalf of their community. In the new freshman class alone, the first 3 Korean American women in Congress ever are now serving: 1 Democrat, Representative Marilyn Strickland of Washington, and 2 Republicans, California Congresswomen Young Kim and Michelle Steele, who became friends decades ago as wives and mothers pre-politics. To mark Women's History Month, we are bringing back our series, Badass Women of Washington. And I sat down with Congresswomen Kim and Steele to talk about the role that they're playing, representing not just their districts in Congress, but the Asian American community. Congresswomen Michelle Steele and Young Kim never imagined the first time they'd testify as new members of Congress it would be to call out hate against their community.
It has been heartbreaking to see the rise in anti-Asian American hate and harassment over the last year.
Asian Americans are Americans. As an Asian American and a member of Congress, I feel a duty to speak out.
Kim and Steele are the first Republican Korean American women ever in Congress.
We are tough cookies. We're tiger moms. Don't mess with us.
Their history-making election comes as crimes against Asian Americans are spiking. Steele says she's been on the receiving end of ugly racism since she won a seat on the California State Board of Equalization, which oversees several state taxes.
The worst one was, we don't eat dogs like you do. And I don't know, I can say it on TV, but, you know, racist bitch. And my favorite, Chairman Mao.
What'd you do?
You just ignore it. You do the better job, you have more enemies out there. Especially these people are not really enemies, but they try to find somebody that they can blame on.
The group Stop AAPI Hate, formed to track violence against Asians at the start of the pandemic, says it received at least 3,795 first-hand reports of anti-Asian hate nationwide, what they call an alarming rise.
Kung flu.
Kim has been outspoken about language like that from the former president and fellow Republicans.
That was very insensitive remark to bring all these hateful comments and attack and call out the Asian American community as the community that is responsible for what we're facing right now, especially through the pandemic. This is completely wrong, insensitive.
But did that contribute to the hate crimes?
You know, the words of the leaders have consequences. They need to be careful about what they say because people really take that to heart.
Steele co-sponsored a bipartisan resolution condemning hate crimes against Asian American and Pacific Islanders.
People cannot work and they cannot put food on the table for their families. They have to do something about it, and then we are the victim. The Asian Americans just became the victim. So we really have to change that.
Not only are they both freshmen representing Southern California districts, they've been close friends for over 30 years, introduced by their husbands in the mid-1980s.
We just became really close friends because we had the babies at the same time. So, you know, first one, second one, and then Young had 2 others after that.
I'm looking at this over the last decades, how we've come very far from being housewives to serving together.
Kim, born in South Korea, grew up in Guam and settled in Los Angeles after getting an MBA. In 1990, she got a job with then California State Senator Ed Royce and stayed with him when he was elected to Congress.
He hired you for a lot of reasons, but primarily to help connect him to the Asian American community.
Exactly. I never knew that this would be a training ground for him to prepare me for what I'm about to do.
When Royce retired in 2018, she ran for his seat and lost. In 2020, she narrowly won a rematch. Steele, who at 19 immigrated to America, says she was inspired to get politically active after her single mother, who owned a sandwich shop and didn't speak much English, got hit with what she says was an unfair tax bill.
I was making calls, stuffing envelopes, while you are raising your kids. That's the way it was. And then, one day I heard that seat opened. So I told my husband I'm running. His jaw dropped because he was in politics such a long time. With your accent, you sure you want to do it?
He
because,
said that?
Yeah, first generation accent, it's going to be very tough because everybody tried to pull you down.
And then we find out that we're voting.
Kim and Steele both beat one-term Democrats who won their districts in the 2018 Blue Wave. They helped usher in the largest group of House GOP women ever, though still far less than Democrats.
By having Michelle and I seats at the table, we will be able to allow the changing dynamics of our Republican Party, how diverse we are, how embracive we are.
But the Republican Party is changing in a lot of ways. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who spread conspiracy theories, is also in their freshman class. Steele condemned QAnon and called Greene's comments dangerous, but stopped short of stripping her of committee assignments. But Kim voted yes on that.
It was for me a vote of conscience and check on my own moral compass. And I wanted to make sure that we send a message that no such comments belong in our Republican Party.
I know exactly.
Young Kim and Michelle Steele, two immigrants candid about the weight of the history they made the minute they were sworn in.
I had the teary eyes. It was just amazing.
I am not only representing the constituents of the 39th district, but we also feel like we have a second district always. That's going to be the Asian American community, specifically the Korean American community. And I'm thinking, I have to do this right.